like to call to order the Charter Township of Oxford Planning Commission regular meeting scheduled for June 22nd, 2017. Will you please rise and pay your respects to the flag?
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. Voted?
Noted.
Thank you. Approval of the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda, but maybe with a slight change of the approval of the minutes from the June 8th meeting. I believe there's some discrepancies that we're going to postpone that.
Yes, there are changes that need to be made to the minutes from the regular meeting of June 8th, so that would be fine if you change the agenda.
So I'll make that approval of the agenda with those amendments made.
Point for discussion, can't we still leave it on and discuss in case other people have items to discuss on it? Still, not pass it, but we should discuss it.
But you want to
If we
open
take
it
it
for
off, we can't
discussion?
discuss it, yeah.
But you don't want to get it corrected for the next meeting date, then?
Well,
Is that review incorrect?
I mean, if we discuss what it is we want to correct tonight,
You have just corrected and come back and just look at it.
so you're assuming everybody knows what the corrections are?
That was going to be my question.
Yeah, it should be discussed.
Open it for discussion, then. I'll amend my, excuse me, Mr. Chair. I'll rescind my motion for approval of the agenda.
Okay, approval of the agenda as presented.
I'll approve the agenda as presented tonight. Motion to approve the agenda. Is there support?
It's been moved by Mr. Berger, supported by Mr. Knoll. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion passes. Item 5, approval of the minutes.
Okay, this is where we can talk about the problems. I know obviously my name's on there twice, as present and not present.
Yeah.
So, one of them. And if there's enough changes, if people want to postpone that, we can have a motion to postpone it.
There's more, so I included the wrong ones in your packet. So as you go from here to what is in your packet, what really I have on the computer, it's two different things.
So we just want them revisited.
Well, then I would move to postpone the approval of the minutes until the next regularly scheduled meeting.
Okay, it's been moved by Ms. Rosner, supported by Mr. Spiz. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. Item 6, public comments on items not scheduled for public hearing or on this agenda. Is there anyone out in the public that wishes to speak about something that's not on the agenda? Okay, seeing none, we will move on to item number 7, Commissioners' comments. Mr. Knoll. Mr. Berger?
I have done it this time.
Mr. Hunwick?
I have no comment.
No comments.
Ms. Smith this time? I have none this time as well. Item number 8, public hearings. The purpose of this hearing is to receive public comments on the proposed rezoning of approximately 4.5 acre parcel. Parcel number 0421-200-2, an approximately 2.73 acre parcel. Parcel number 04-21-200-005, currently zoned C1 local commercial to RM multiple family. Applicant property owner, Contour Development Group LLC, The Oasis at Waterstone, 40950 Woodward Avenue, Suite 300, Bloomfield Hills, Michigan, 48305.
I make a motion to open the public hearing.
I'll support. It's been moved by Mr. Berger and supported by Mr. Spiz to open that discussion, or to open the public hearing. Is there anyone in the public wishing to comment on the proposed rezoning?
Yes.
Please step up to the lectern, state your name and
We have
address.
to vote first.
I'm sorry. Got ahead of myself. Those in favor of opening? Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, my bad. Okay, now you can make your motion. And just so you know, for your comments on the public, they should be limited to 3 minutes, and try to not repeat any comment that's already been made. And again, please state your name and your address.
Good evening, Mary Ann Haynes. I'm a resident of the Stony Lake Village Condo Association. I'm at 149 Stony Lake Drive. And my concern with the development is not the rezoning issue, but just that the Planning Commission would keep in mind about how many units, how many homes, how many condos, or how many other type of dwellings might, be established on these parcels of land. The reason I bring this up is because right now we are experiencing difficulties with the amount of traffic flow on Stony Lake Drive. The Oakland County Sheriff Department is aware of this since we're in constant communication with them. Anyone wishing to go to Meyer or anyone having high school, aged children use Stony Lake Drive to get across to Ray Road. And so we've noticed with the new construction and the increased amount of new development in the Waterstone complex that we've been experiencing a huge increase in traffic flow and of speeding. And my concern is that I'm not certain with this new development what the plan is going to be, and will there be a direct outlet from these parcels of land, especially the one on the east side of Market Street? Will there be direct access to Lapeer Road so that the Waterstone community will have an alleviation of the amount of traffic using Market Street and Stony Lake Drive to get to Lapeer Road? So I ask at this early on conception phase that be looked at and perhaps considered in the plan design as traffic flow and perhaps direct outlet, whether it be Cedar Lake Drive, Cedar Street. There'd be another avenue for a direct outlet onto Lapeer Road, because I see that the increase on Stony Lake Drive and Market Street will be phenomenal depending on how many. These are large parcels. I'm not knowledgeable to know exactly how many homes or how many condos. I don't know if that's been established yet, but if you would just please think every one of those units, how many cars, how many people, and the increase in traffic flow in the area. Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak? Sir?
Bruce Myers, 3100 Delano, Oxford. In addition to the traffic flow, basically Waterstone had received a great number of concessions to increase the density of the housing on that property right in the get-go. Basically, the golf course ended up being counted as open area, which is a little bit different, a little bit unusual. Basically, when they received the approval, it was a package deal. Part of the package was the amount of C1 property that was left for development. Be it an ice cream store or whatever it can go in there to fit the development. That was what the promise was. Now, they haven't developed it yet, and I can kind of understand why. But now with the development on the east side of M24, it's going to be developing a good number of homes or multiple dwellings, and therefore there should be some traffic if somebody wants to develop the C1 there. I find it odd that this development company wants to change the zoning now, almost like before the evils of opening up so many multiples on the other side of M24 become a reality and people realize what can happen. There's nothing on here in terms of what the density is. And that's going to be a problem. Basically, they made a promise. They need to live with it. We don't need to change that. If they need to wait another year, 2, 5 years in order to have the density and the traffic to develop commercial, so be it. That was part of the package. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to discuss on the rezoning? Sir?
Larry Rosner, I live at 1830 Cobblestone Lane, Oxford, Michigan. And when I continue to see always rezoning, and it seems to be the majority is we're rezoning from something to multifamily or high-density homes. And when you look at the master plan back, some years back, it didn't show that. So the master plan is being changed drastically from what it was. You know, it's just my opinion, it's only my opinion, but it's almost like we have a contest between the village and the township as to who can put in the most multifamily homes. You know, at some point in time, you reach capacity. Now, we have more land than the village does. So, well, why do we want to continue taking what we have and put it in multifamily? Thank you.
Anyone else for the rezoning? Parsons and Watson, sir? In the back.
Hi, my name is Richard Hay. I live at 670 Overlook in Waterstone. I'm new to this process, but I was hoping to see some type of a drawing that would describe this project. I walk that route virtually twice a day with my dog, and those parcels don't seem that big. The article I saw in the newspaper said they were going to be quadplexes, 11 buildings on those two properties with 4-unit buildings each. And that seems very dense. It also doesn't seem consistent with the rest of Waterstone. All the other condos in the Waterstone development are duplex. I agree with the lady about the traffic issues. As far as there's no information about what the access is going to be on the Market Street. I'm also concerned about how it might affect the Waterstone Park, which my wife and myself and my dog use virtually every day. There just doesn't seem to be a lot of information at this point, but it also seems very, very dense in my experience for that piece of land, separate from the whole issue of changing your master plan. That's a decision for other people to make, I guess. Traffic certainly on Market Street is an issue. You see the sheriff out there all the time, and they don't seem to not stay busy. But at any rate, those are some of the concerns that I have about it, and I was hoping to get some answers to that tonight. I don't know if there is something through the township that shows a design of the thing. That would be very helpful for people to make a decision. But absent that, I would oppose it in this level of density. I think a duplex, which would obviously be fewer units, would be more consistent with Waterstone and a little bit easier on the overall density of the area. Thank you.
Anyone else like to comment on the rezoning? Second comment? Different than your first? Sure.
As Mr. Rosner said, there seems to be a competition for changing property to multiple, and I don't see where we have a shortage of multiple zoning in the township that we need to be pressured into changing the zoning on this. I think we need to maintain the C1. This is probably a good time to also ask, does anybody have a build-out plan so we can see what we're expecting in this area? Maybe not the whole township, but at least this portion of the township. What kind of density we can expect to find over the next 5 years or so. We've seen a doubling of the population based on the census from one census to another. And I can expect, based on what I'm already seeing, at least a doubling of that again over the next 10 years. And I'd like to see where we're going, because right now, we don't have, it doesn't appear like we're following the master plan that well, and that we know where we're going, and I think we need a build-up plan.
Okay, thank you.
I have I have an email that was sent to me. They had my address and asked that I forward it. I did forward it to Deanna and to the chair, but I don't think it came in in time. The request is that it would be read for tonight's meeting. It has comments on both public meetings, so I'm going to read the first section of this one and then I'll the second when that applies. In regards to the proposed zoning change on Market Street, I am adamantly opposed to this. Firstly, because it was part of the arrangement to get Waterstone allowed, that the property would be used as a commercial area, and even more importantly, Oxford has way too much multifamily zoning and building going on. There are homes and properties for sale all over Oxford right now. Many of these places are vacant and/or foreclosed properties. And because of this housing glut, real estate prices throughout the township have radically dropped over the last 10 years. While property values have increased in surrounding areas, there should not be any more multifamily projects built in our township until at least 80% of the existing ones are occupied. No more, no way. And that is from Jenny Benson on Barber Road in Oxford.
Thank you, and noted. Anyone else wishing to speak on the rezoning of the property for water spillways?
Well, if there isn't any other comments to be made, I would make a motion to close the public hearing.
Support. Okay, it's been moved by Mr. Berger. It's been moved by Mr. Berger, seconded by Mr. Spitz. Those, any discussion on the motion? Those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. I would just like to make a note out to the people in the public, though, about what's presented to us, the commissioners here, for this review of rezoning. You know, this is the very first step in a process of making a development in the community. So what's presented to us is simply the request to get a rezoning from one designation to the other. There's another step that follows should that rezoning pass. That's requests or gets before us a site plan gets put in front of us, which then shows what the buildings are, how many people they expect to have, and that sort of thing. And that's where we discuss, is it too much density? Is it not enough? Is it inappropriate? That sort of thing. So just so you know, we don't have that information in front of us tonight. We're just looking at the possibility of rezoning it from commercial to carpet. Yes.
Just to clarify that, it's actually improper to get a use with the zoning. Once we grant a zoning change, any use that's allowed in that district would be allowed. So no matter what the applicant says, unless it's a conditional rezoning, they could say it's for this, get it rezoned, and do something entirely different the next day, totally within the law. So that is why we're not talking about specific uses, because that is liquid and can change. So that may help explain that a bit. So when we look at a zoning change, we're looking at it as though anything in that category would be going into that spot, and we consider that when we make the decision on that. My second component for this is this came in as a CAD, which has been replaced by a PUD. It was done as a master concept, and I'm wondering procedurally why it's coming in as a zoning change when it is really a PUD.
Well, if I could answer that, I'm not sure the procedure about how a CAD would transition to a PUD. On the zoning map, they're all just under regular zoning districts. So in terms of what we're looking at now, it's not PUD, it's C1. But it's a good question. I don't know procedurally how a CAD would have transitioned to be a PUD, since they are two separate zoning districts technically. It's an outdated district that we don't use anymore. But on the zoning map, it is C1, not PUD.
I only brought it up in case it was comment related to that particular subject.
So the CAD's outdated, we only outdated to go with.
Okay, again, we can talk about more in detail when it comes to this new business, but general question I have.
Okay, good. Anything more? Moving on to item 9, unfinished business, there is none. Moving to item 10, new business. Proposed private road on approximately 118 acres, parcel number 04-02-200-006, currently zoned AG, agricultural, 20-acre minimum. Applicant property owner, House of Providence, Jason Dunn, P.O. Box 07266, Detroit, Michigan 48207. Is the petitioner here? Okay. If you would, can you come up to the lectern and give your name and address and a brief synopsis as to what you are looking to do with putting in a new private road?
Absolutely. Good evening. Jason Dunn, House of Providence, 3921 Barber Road. And we are proposing a private road that will service eventually 2 different splits on that property. And then also asking and requesting for the waiver for the storm retention requirement that would be needed since we got approval that Lapeer County and Davison Lake Road would entertain to take that storm water that comes off of there.
Okay. First, we would take comments from the consultants about it. Do you want to start first, Matt?
That's fine. So the applicant is proposing one gravel private road within a 66-foot easement. This is on the south side of Davison Lake Road, west of Barber Road. The gravel road is approximately 605 feet in length and ends in a cul-de-sac. While lot splits may be proposed in the future, I just want to state up front that this action tonight is only with regard to the private road. We just reviewed the private road in terms of the zoning ordinance and the township engineering standards. So in terms of the zoning ordinance, private roads are subject to section 11.3. And in terms of engineering standards, they are reviewed in terms of the Township Engineering Design Standards Manual. I do also want to note that Davison Lake Road is under the jurisdiction of Lapeer County and the Lapeer County Road Commission, and the Road Commission has approved the approach off of Davison Lake Road. So the proposed the proposed road as it is now is only serving one lot. That lot meets all zoning ordinance requirements for area, lot width, as well as lot frontage. We also find that in terms of planning, it meets section 11.3 of the zoning ordinance and the Township Engineering Standards Manual. The applicant is requesting one waiver, and that's for stormwater runoff. Section 6.3 of the engineering standard states that stormwater runoff needs to be retained on site for private roads unless a waiver is granted by the Planning Commission. The applicant is planning on dedicating approximately 27 feet of additional easements to the Lapeer County Road Commission for additional drainage that's going to be produced by the private road. And as we understand, Lapeer County has approved that easement. So we do recommend granting the waiver for the stormwater. There are a couple issues related to the legal terms and the easement agreements, the maintenance agreements. However, we find that these can be reviewed administratively and dealt with as a condition of approval if you do choose to approve it. Also, the Planning Commission for private roads does have the final say with private roads. It's not a recommendation of the township.
Thank you. Mr. Sharp?
Well, Matt stole most of my thunder there. We know that there's a maintenance agreement that'll have to be recorded for this private road. It'll be recorded with Oakland County. Again, Davison Lake Road is under the jurisdiction of Lapeer County, and they have approved that. I double-checked with Oakland County Road Commission just to make sure that that jurisdiction was correct, and in fact it is. So Lapeer County has approved that. As far as the site grading and drainage patterns, they're providing positive drainage patterns. And again, regarding the waiver, the road itself is, because the property not being developed at this time, we're strictly looking at the private road. We're not going to foresee any major drainage problems on that roadway. So again, we would request, or we would recommend that the waiver be granted. The proposed cross-section of the road meets the township standards, being 20-foot wide gravel with 5-foot gravel shoulders, and then the ditching. It meets all the requirements for the horizontal and vertical alignments. And again, because this is not an actual site plan, a safety path is not required at this time, because it's just strictly private roadways. And regarding site utilities, obviously it's just a road, so there is no public sanitary or water out there, but they're not requesting anything at this time. So it would be our opinion also that the planning commission approve the private road.
Okay, thank you. And did you also receive a copy of the attorney's letter?
I did.
Okay, and have you made note of their comments in
Yes,
that letter?
absolutely.
Okay. And that letter was in our packet, so we should have reviewed those as well by the attorney. All right, so at this point, I think maybe we should open it up to public comment. I just want to remind the public that we're going to have public comment on a private road going into private property. We're not discussing the use of the property. It's currently agriculture, so those comments don't have a place for tonight. The comments need to be pointed to him installing a private road. Is there anyone wishing to speak from the public? Sir.
Dr. Bruce Myers, 3100 Delano, Oxford. I can't really address the road on the property, but I would like to address trying to waive the necessity of a retention pond. That site had been used for a good number of years for target shooting, basically like skeet and trap shooting. There are literally tons of lead scattered throughout that property. With anything that's being done on that property, be it building or even making a road, you're going to be disturbing whatever's already entrapped on that property. I don't need to tell you about lead. Normally I would as a doctor, but all I need to say is flint, and I think you get the idea. So if you don't have a retention pond, you're going to have water running onto Davison Lake, and that was something that your engineer evidently admitted. And the problem is, I want that all retained on that property. I have a well not that far from there. If you start letting the water go down the road and start soaking into the ground wherever it happens to soak in, be it a half mile, mile away or whatever, you're now spreading that lead contamination. I would like to delay having to worry about the lead in my well for any length of time. There's a reason why retention ponds are required when you're building roads like this. And it's not only just for regular runoff. In this case, it also needs to retain the contaminated runoff that is expected when you have a lead site of that nature. And that retention pond needs to be basically tested on a somewhat regular basis to see what's in that water, how dense the lead is in that water. Once it gets onto the roadway and disappears, you're not really going to be able to do the testing that's required, or it should be required. So I basically, hate to say it, but basically I demand that the water be retained on that property in the retention pond. That's not something to be shared with the neighbors. Keep it there.
Okay, thank you.
I would, if I could, just to address that issue. We have had all our environmental on the property that's been done and taken care of.
Jason, hold on. Yeah, we don't, okay, we're just have public comment. We'll review in a minute.
Okay, great.
If we need to. Anyone else in the public wishing to speak? Okay. Seeing none, then we'll move on to Commissioners' comments?
We'll have a couple comments.
Mr. Berger?
It's amazing, sometimes I don't think properly out of the box, and I think Dr. Bruce Myers made some nice comments that I wasn't possibly thinking about until just a few minutes ago. I do remember that was a shooting facility for a number of years. And there has been a lot of concern about that content. And I was almost to the point of possibly granting a waiver for that until you got up and spoke, so I appreciate that. So beyond that point, there are other concerns that are still involved with the process of this private road, and the attorney had several that she had written, and I read those, and I believe that, and the petitioner did say that he had got a copy and read those also. He will have time to comment on that. I would really like to see those cleaned up prior to this point of possible denial or approval tonight by this board committee, excuse me. And also, I would really like to see final approval of documentation from Lapeer County Road Commission if it's not going to be Oakland County. I'm so used to looking at Oakland County prior to possibly moving this thing forward, just so that people understand where I'm at and where I see this from my point of view right now. I would like to see this done possibly in two different motions. I'd like to see the stormwater retention as a motion, and then I would like to see the approval or denial of the road as another motion based on conditions that are still outstanding on this for approval, because I know that there are still township engineer comments that need to be addressed. They aren't really resolved all the way. I did speak to Mr. Wagner, who works for Mr. Sharp, and so I have some concerns there, and I'd like to see anything that is not resolved or that it's unresolved yet possibly cleaned up and presented to us at a future date, rather than possibly making total approval process tonight. That's just my opinion, speaking out loud.
Okay.
So I want everybody to know where I'm kind of at right now before we move forward.
That's good. I have a question. I don't know which report was it, who it was from, but there was something in reference to the soil, correct? In reference to the soil on that site? Was there reference made in one of your reports as to what type of soil was out there? Is there anything?
I think it might be a match report.
I have just a brief comment on natural features, just stating that it's Fox Riddle sandy loam and Marlette sandy loam. But the general properties of those soils are suitable for development. However, the external contamination is a different topic.
Right. Ms. President.
Okay, yeah, I did forget to read the public comment portion on that. I mentioned it. I'll read that first.
Oh, yes. Yeah, we'll let that in, sure.
I'll go to my comment. Here, we just see my name here. Okay. It says, the other proposed project for a road to be put on Clough Davis and Lake Road at Barber Road in order to accommodate the House of Providence project is another thing that should not be allowed. The whole project is nothing but bad news for one of the quiet, non-spoiled neighborhoods left in Oxford. It would set a horrible precedent for any residential area, but this area of Oxford is a jewel of the township. It really goes on about the master plan, and it should be protected for projects like this and keep the character of the home country. Also of concern is the lead content of the soil on parts of that property, and what will happen to the water quality of the surrounding properties if this area is torn up and stirred around. At the very least, a lengthy environmental study should be required before a decision is made on this subject. But looking at this project as a whole, it should not be approved in this neighborhood. Okay, so now on to my comments. I was provided a copy of the environmental study for this property and it does have the ground contamination levels. I will pass this down. The surface lead contamination on this property is hundreds of times in magnitude higher than the lead allowable level. For example, parts per million of lead in a normal ground is 21,000. Parts of this property has 315,000 parts per million in lead.
Whose report is this?
This is the environmental study for Barber Road. This is done by the previous property owner. This environmental study was done in 2004. And so there was no contaminations. On top of that, there was benzene, toluene, ethyl benzene, xylene, high levels of methyl naphthalene, 1,2,4-trimethylbenzene, and 1,3,5-trimethylbenzene. So I can pass this down.
Samples are where the road's going?
This is samples throughout the property. It gives the sample location numbers. So the problem I have is if we're disturbing soil and moving it around, what are we doing? The other component of that is that's what he was looking at here. Our state of Michigan and the federal government has best practices for closing up of shooting ranges. It also has remediation for shooting ranges. When you close a shooting range, certain things are supposed to be done to make sure that the lead contamination of these items are dealt with. I don't know that this was done. I looked for another environmental study. I don't see that it was done when I checked with the state. So the current property owner, if they did not do one, would be responsible for any additional contamination past this point. So, in looking at this, I really want more time to look at the remediation requirements for this and see what needs to be done to make sure we're not disturbing and moving soils and causing a problem for the surrounding neighborhood, especially the groundwater, with what's known to be in the soil, and to take a cautious approach to this. Also, I would not be in favor of letting any of that groundwater off the site. I would not be in favor of granting a waiver of that. I agree that putting it into a retention basin, on the property would at least give the property owner a chance to test the water for increasing levels of lead to see what needs to be done with that. So I have some, concerns about disturbing the soil and groundwater runoff.
Mr. Smith? Sure, if I could, I would like to ask an applicant if I'm sure when they purchased this property, they were aware that it was a shooting range. Have they done anything? Have they done any studies, like Kelly is indicating? What have they done over the last year plus relative to this site? Have you done a study? Environmentals come on, et cetera, et cetera. So could we ask the applicant?
I'll entertain that, Mr. Dunn.
Thanks so much. When we did purchase the property, we were aware of the environmental report that was there, and we have had another environmental done by the same company that did the environmental back in 2004. And that report is closing right now. We've turned everything into the DEQ, and the property came back very clean. Lead levels were almost non-existent on the property, and even with research from previous owners, it was 30 to 40 years. They haven't even used a lead on the property. It was only steel shot that was used on there. So we also tested for that to make sure that the property would be safe for what we do desire to do, and everything came back safe. Our water came back clean, safe. We tested everything above and beyond, just as before, to make sure that everything would be good for what we do. So that letter, no further action, is coming very quickly to the township for that. So we have taken care of all that and made sure it was done well, and it's all taken care of.
Yeah, do you have a date for when it likely comes back?
We should have that next week.
Okay.
And to meet the statutory guidelines for the time period after the close of the sale to have that filed?
For the DEQ, we found out it was given to us, and then we worked with it immediately. And I know that it wasn't a hunt range, it was a hunt club, so I know it's a big difference between a range and a club. So
I'm saying you have a certain amount of time to file your phase. Was it a 201 or?
it's happening, and we're finishing it right now.
I'm saying what level? Was that a 201 that you did? Was it tested to?
We did 1 and 2. We went all the way through to make sure everything was concise and done well.
Okay. Because if there's so many days after you buy that you have to file that for protection, was that filed within that time period?
Yeah, we have all the time period, everything done.
That's what I was questioning.
Yep,
Because I would have thought you fucking closed, what, over a year ago?
close to it.
Seems like there's a long delay. With that, the state delay?
Excuse me?
The state that just delayed?
I can't answer that for you.
But so far, it's not filed with the state.
It will be.
Has it been filed with the state?
Our environmental has finished all of that and has turned everything into the state right now.
Okay, so it has been filed with the state.
Yep, they have it presently and they're finishing up.
I guess my concern is I never thought about the lead issue until it came up here. I guess that makes a lot of sense. The applicant has had an environmental study done by a private organization, correct? Private company?
Yeah, ECI, the same company that did it in 2004.
Okay. My concern is, does Oakland County have a division that does that? Test soil analysis? I guess my concern is if the applicant is providing a soil analysis himself, and we take that as gospel instead of having an independent third party do it.
Well, it's my understanding, that you go,
Pardon me?
And it's the same one that did the one before.
Well, I know, but there's both property owners. I realize that it didn't come favorable the first time, but to me, it just seems, I just would rather if there was a government agency that could go in there and look at it, or a county, and they had somebody who's going and doing analysis of it, I feel more comfortable about it.
that's part of the filing process. It's my understanding, and I could be wrong, but it's my understanding that when you do that, it has to be certified to whatever level, environmental,
The lab can't test unless it's certified.
that you're doing. And so that level of test determines your protection, so to speak, from the previous level of contamination. So that's when you file that, you're protected up to that level, and the additional one for the next owner is what they're responsible for. So that has to be approved through the state, which is part of the filing process. And so when you look it up through the state on the regulated reports, this report was not filed with the state, the one I have.
Right,
So,
2000.
right, that one wasn't filed with the state, is what I was told. And I'd like verification of that, by the township. So,
Does the state recognize this company as a valid,
the information I was told is the state doesn't recognize that report because it was never filed with
Just
the
a
state.
report.
It was a private report done by an individual, not filed with the state.
If I can
That's
interrupt.
why I'm asking if it was filed.
If I can interrupt, from what I hear, that means that that report wouldn't even be in question, and we shouldn't be talking about it. If we can't use it, then our new report that we have, so any lead on the property, period, we shouldn't even be discussing it, because we're
No,
saying
that's
that,
not true.
we're saying that that report is insufficient and not really trustworthy, so that should just be off the table then.
Oh, no, that's not what I said. The report is a valid report. It's not filed with the state in terms of other people being able to tap into that. What happens when you don't file it with the state is you don't get the protection of having that level of contamination on property. As a property owner, when I buy a property, if I don't do an environmental study to the level I want protected, I will be responsible when I sell the property for the current level of contamination, even if 6 property owners back did it.
Yeah, I think with all due respect,
So
if
as
we're,
long as it wasn't
if what we're
filed, there's no
hearing,
He
protection.
is doing one.
yeah,
Andy's filing with the state.
Right, the problem is, he may be doing one, but there's no previous study to base it off of that was filed, that I've been told.
and I
by
think
the
that's why we did a study, to make sure that this property was safe and clean, and the study proves that, and it'll be shown. And so ECI is a very reputable
does the
environmental
state
company.
recognize ECI as a,
Absolutely, he's completely certified in every level you can imagine, so.
I guess my point is we need to wait and see what the state says until it is actually filed, approved, and registered with the state. We won't know unless the applicant wants to provide that report to us.
Any other comments?
I have a comment. There was a letter written by the Board of Computer Road Commission 313 had 8 items. Are these being addressed and plan to be closed out?
Yep, all those items were based upon, once we begin construction, we had to make sure we had permitting, we had approval through the Oxford Township, that we walked through those levels. So they gave approval, and then we have to come and get approval here. So all those things will be addressed as we get approval here. And so they all kind of mesh together because the jurisdiction is Lapeer County on that side. So it's kind of two pieces that come together. So all those things will be fully addressed before we begin.
Yeah, they gave approval, they just won't issue a permit without those items. Mr. Sharp?
That's exactly, I had that same letter in front of me, and I was going, I mean, they hit it right on the head. They did receive the actual approval, and once they pick a contractor, he'll go get all the permits and so forth.
Absolutely. And if I can, while I'm here, to address the easement agreements, the only thing really I saw from the lawyer that was necessary is we needed to have the easement included into that to make that and then official, so it's turned into the county. So that is being done as we speak as well, so that every requirement is met with inside of that as well. So that's where I think the city planner said that's just some of the logistics, the legalities that are happening before we finally move over. And that was in his report.
Yeah, from the attorney was the private road easement agreement and the maintenance agreement.
Yep, and those were the two, and they both need the same thing, and so that's being done, and the information I was given, that can be something that's done. It's more of a legality, you have a time period to do that. So all that is working right now.
Any other comments?
Yeah,
With public comments closed.
well, I didn't know what to comment on until I heard the argument.
I understand. All right, sir. We're not going to open the floor. I'm just going to say.
I'm William Sterner. I live at 5950 Connor Court. I live about a mile from the proposed site off of Davison Lake Road. And I do water testing at my house periodically because I want to know what's in the water. And I test for heavy metals, nitrates, nitrites, lead with regularity, and never have them come back at a high level in my aquifer that I probably share with the property. I just wanted to make that clear. And I use an EPA certified lab, and I'm sure that the laboratory that Jay speaks of, ECI I believe it was, I'm certainly they're certified by EPA as well. All right, I think the lead issues that should count me good. So that's my personal opinion.
What my concerns, if I might just summarize it, my concerns is remediation required by the state or the federal government. I got documentation that says that it should be. If so, does it need to be done? What are the current levels of contamination and how do we handle that? And not having that information, I would not be able to approve disturbing the soil or putting in any kind of a waiver for groundwater, until we get that information. I receive information that's credible that says it's on the property at high levels, which is concerning. If it's good now, that's great. I want to see that data before we move forward. So I would move to postpone this until this information can be brought forward and all of the other items in the report.
He said the report's due from the state in a week?
Yep.
Or thereabouts?
Yeah, and I think the report is completely credible, and everything is legitimately there. And so
Mr. Chair, if I may, do you have a copy of the report that you'd be willing to share with us?
Yep, I didn't bring it with me, but I could bring it in, I can email it, I can do all that. We have the report, and we also have the state, again, doing the NFA letter for us that clears it, so.
So that was the motion.
You made a formal motion?
Yeah, I said that I would move to postpone this until that information is presented to us along with meeting of the criteria as referenced in our consultant reports.
I want to be clear on something. What's the motion regarding?
Postpone it until we get information.
Everything, the waiver for the actual retention, and also the actual private road also?
Yep.
So it's for both components tonight? That's what you're postponing?
I believe I can't really make that decision until I have that information. And also, there's a lot of other items that needed to be done, which I think he can do before the next meeting.
Well, are you going to include the modifications that need to be made for the private road easement agreement, the private road maintenance agreement for the attorneys?
Yes, that's what I said, to have our consultants,
All the
everything met in the consultants, yes.
Engineers,
Yes,
planner, or attorney?
an attorney, yep,
That's in the motion?
yes.
Does that include their environmental report?
I'm asking that the petitioner submit the information they feel appropriate for us to make that decision, and it'll be up to us if that's enough information. How we perceive that.
That was support. I'll support it.
I'll schedule.
I'll support it for discussion. We've already discussed it. But I feel like as long as all the submittals are final approval and documentation, including, and we do have a copy, I didn't know we had a copy of the letter from the March 3rd, 2017 Board of Appeal County Road Commissioner. So everything in their letter stipulates that the plans are approved as submitted. However, they just can't move forward until they do the items required through the Township of Oxford now. So I don't have a problem with that after I saw that letter. I still have concerns about the waiver of the retention stormwater. I have concerns there. And obviously, as long as we meet all the criteria from the people we're using, our attorney, our engineer, and planning and zoning administrator, as long as those come back, then I would agree to postpone this. I'm agreeing to move forward with that.
Any other discussion or comments about the motion?
You mentioned, point of clarification, or is the best way to do this, because I know Commissioner Berger there is looking to separate in two motions. I understood when you made the comment at the beginning, but after having this discussion, I don't know how we can do that because the retention bond is then based on, you can't do retention variance. How do you do the road? Because you have to do the other, do you not?
Well, in my own personal opinion, I would make a motion to deny the retention for stormwater.
But then
Based on the waiver of the section, which is actually 6.3 of engineering design.
When you change the design.
So, well, I don't know that yet, so that's why I was gonna try and keep them separate. And then I would say then postpone until we had those conditions brought back forward. So, but if her motion is including that as a postponement, then I'm agreeing to that. So, and then it will all come back as a package.
If I could just clarify things for a little bit. You do not, if you're planning on postponing final action on the private road, you do not have to make that waiver motion. We can postpone that until we discuss it.
I agree.
So the waiver doesn't even need to be on the table right now.
Just a postponement of the...
Now, ultimately, when you are planning on making a final motion, you're going to have to either approve the waiver or deny it. And if you deny it, then the applicant's going to have to come back with a new set of plans showing a retention pond or detention pond, because you can't approve a private road if the waiver wasn't granted without there being on-site retention. But for tonight, if you're planning on postponing it, just postpone it. There doesn't have to be a discussion or a separate motion for the waiver retention.
For me, I'm a little conflicted because we hear just from the general public, there may be an issue with the soil. And we may or may not make a decision about, allowing someone to install a private road on his property due to that until we have the report from the state stating that the soil is good. Which means, in a way, we're setting ourselves up to require a report every time someone wants to put in a private road.
Not necessarily.
What would make it different than any other case on a piece of private property that the person wants to put a private road in?
No, it's property contamination. It's their property. Sites are regulated, they're tested. You can go on the site, I know where they are along the road.
Do we check that? Do we check that as a body with these companies? Is that on our check?
But the
I
property
do when
is
there
full
are areas that I
private.
know.
No, when it comes in, it's got to meet this, that, and the other thing. And there's a letter in there from the DEQ or from ECI or the state saying that, yep, that property is good to go. You can put a road in there, you can put a building on it, so on.
The DEQ signs off on that, I guess we don't have much of a choice.
The application didn't check on there on the wetlands, so I was confused on that, because they were supposed to have wetlands protection. It wasn't checked yet, we're not discussing it. So I don't know if there was an oversight, but that's a problem for me too.
Mr. Chair. Yeah. I'm listening to everybody up here talk right now, but I think personally myself, you know, I'm not against private roads on properties that people want to put in for their own benefit or even for someone else's benefit. If they want to grant that easement and give up the 66 feet of road right away and have everything is done accordingly by ordinance, that's what the ordinance is written for. So what I meant was earlier in my comment was whether I want to actually deny or approve the stormwater retention waiver in regards to putting in a private road. So from my point of view, I'm concerned that if they want to do that, then we have to put the two together. Irregardless of what was maybe there and what may or may not be there currently, I don't know that yet because we don't have a copy of the current report back to us. But that's how I feel about it. I want people to put in a private road if they can and do what they need to develop. There may be someone else in the audience that has a piece of property they want to put a private road on at some point in time. As long as they meet the criteria of the ordinance, I guess. And so I'm not willing to grant the waivers to do that right now. So that's my view.
Okay, that's understood.
I'm just on the page, Mr. Gerber.
See, any other comments?
That's what I was saying, it's not checked, the box. I don't see wetlands here. It doesn't certify that it won't impact the wetland, so basically it's certifying that it will impact the wetland, all of this ties together, and that's why I'm concerned about the environmentals. I think that got passed over, because that's where it would pick that up. I'm concerned that in moving soil to make a road, they stockpile soil in a certain area. So where it once might be more spread out, now you're concentrating it, and they could be putting it next to an area where it's going to run directly off into a neighbor's house, where they have their well. So until I know about the stability of that soil and the contamination level of the soil, I wouldn't approve disturbing the soil until we know. What I saw in there, those numbers were very high.
It was a hunt, not an oil.
Can I make a quick comment, please? I think we keep addressing this old report that we don't want to call legitimate, but we want to use it to be legitimate for a point and purpose at this time, which I think is inappropriate because I want to use it sometimes, but I don't want to use it all the time. I just want to use it to favor myself. So I think somewhere down the line we have to have a basis of either the old report is legitimate, which I've heard Ms. Rosner say that it's not, and so the discussion of a lead on the property shouldn't exist because as far as we know, there's nothing that's there. And every one of us that live in this area shoot guns. Every one of us have issues that's going on. And so if that's the address, none of us should be able to build private roads or have any kind of water that runs anywhere because that's part of hunting. I mean, that alone, every deer that crosses through our property, we probably shouldn't even touch the deer then. I mean, we're making arguments that we're trying to push them towards a certain opinion of one that shouldn't exist. We should just be looking at the private road and what it is we're proposing. We met all the ordinances, we met all the criteria, we did everything that was expected of us to do it, and somehow we're getting off on all these tangents that are unnecessary, so now we're away from the private road. And so I think we need to address the private road and stay there. So thank you.
Good. Thank you. I appreciate that. Public comment is closed. We're in the middle of discussing a motion on this board, so only the commissioners can discuss the motion at this time, okay? Just to make it clear. So I will ask again if there's any other comments from the commissioners on the motion as presented. Okay. Seeing none, I think I'll take a roll call on this one, please. Those in favor of the motion as presented?
Mr. Chair, I would, just for clarity's sake, if you don't mind repeating the motion, just so everyone, our planning commissioner here knows what the exact wording of the motion is.
You got it now?
No, no.
Not really. It's on tape.
It was a simple and straightforward motion. It said that I move to postpone this meeting until the applicant presents information that meets all of the criteria specified in our consultants, and also any information he would like to present regarding the contamination levels on the soil.
Is everyone clear on the motion? Okay.
I have a question.
Yes.
Is this going to end? I mean, we can continue to find all these things. Can we have the reason about that there's lead, could be lead there? We're concerned about lead. That's a very big thing in our society today. But what about the next time we come around? Is there going to be more that we have to review and consider from different engineers or from different consulting groups or outside sources?
In my opinion, no. I mean, we have the ordinances as written. Those are what we should be looking at the moment. Those are what he has to submit to. What I kind of stated earlier, we don't have a requirement to submit this to the road.
If he was putting the retention bond in, we wouldn't even discuss it.
Any other comments on the motion as presented? Okay, Mr. Humble?
Commissioner Knoll?
No.
Commissioner Rosner Myers?
Yes.
Commissioner Spiz?
Yes.
Commissioner Berger?
Yes.
Commissioner Cruz is not here. Commissioner Honwick? Yes. Commissioner Young?
No. Postpone this until the next meeting, and that information will be represented to the planning commission.
Well, Mr. Chair,
Yes.
does that give the petitioner enough time to address the issues that were...
When would be the next meeting?
There was no formal date set.
My motion is when the petitioner, the motion was when the petitioner presents it, so when he presents it, it would come back to us.
Okay, so the next available meeting date after information has been
Presented, right. So we meet every second and fourth Thursday.
Absolutely. I'll have it all later. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I'd like to move on to item B in new business. I'm just going to make a quick announcement, though. I'd like to introduce a 2-minute recession for those of you that like to be in the meeting. Sorry.
So many golf shoes. Got a good picture of my face. It's like for I thought my golf game was any good or anything. I'm lucky if I hit the ball.
I tried a little bit. I killed like 3 bushes. No. How many bushes did I lose down? Very cool. Like 3.
You like my shoes? I've been sitting here looking at them while we're sitting here. Very thank you. It's very cool.
Well, they said
They're like dressy but casual, and they probably breathe really.
Yes, they're comfortable.
Yeah.
When you walk down there, your hand right there, all over you, so pretty much
bushes on fire, and I'm like, what's going on, Chief?
Are you keeping us out of trouble?
No, it's put out a fire at our building today.
I'll be quick. Yeah. I promise. Okay. I promise. Do you need help with anything? I'm not sure that I help with anything. No, I thought they were all here for me. Yeah. My rezone. They weren't.
Some car keys. Mercedes up there. She wants to drive some Mercedes. I was hoping to get back to golf, but I don't think that's going to happen.
I was hoping to get home before it got dark. Now I have to go out before the dog with flashlights and chase all the baby skunks out of the front yard.
You set fire to baby skunks?
No.
No, you're talking about setting a fire, and then I tuned in, I heard fire, and then baby skunks.
Interesting.
Okay.
I coerced them away to the back of the yard so my dog has a place not to.
Okay, but you didn't set fire to them?
No.
Okay.
I would not even shoot them.
Okay.
Try to have them relocate.
I'd like to call back to order. Sorry, is that? Call back to order the planning commission meeting.
Oh, it's cooler in here.
Okay, on item number 10B, proposed rezoning of approximately 4.5 acre parcel. Parcel number 04-21-200-002, an approximately 2.7 acre parcel. Parcel number 04-21-200-005, currently zoned C1, local commercial to RM multiple family. Applicant property owner, Contour Development Group LLC, the Oasis in Waterstone, 4950 Woodward Avenue, suite number 300, Bloomfield Hills, Michigan, 48304. Is the petitioner here? Okay, if you would please step up to the lectern, state your name, your address, and then a brief synopsis of what you are looking for.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me. My name is Peter Stuhlmeier with Design House Architecture. I'm here representing Contour Development on this project. It's been something we've been talking about for a couple of years now. And I think it was brought, there was a pretty good consensus that the commercial, especially a couple of years ago, was having a struggle in taking off inside of the development of Waterstone. So we were looking for the better fit for that land, and kind of with discussion with administration and staff, came up with the RM district. Did some test fits. That's what people talk about. There's no design on the boards. There's no design on the table. We're going to go through the normal process of site plan, dealing with Jim and the planner and anybody else as we kind of formulate our idea. So there was some release of some information, maybe a leak or something that got out that said there were fourplexes, and they might be, but at this point we really have made no commitment or effort to work on the design. There were some comments about traffic, and as you know, obviously from C1, from nothing to RM, it's a traffic increase. From C1 to RM, it's a dramatic traffic decrease. So, you know, although the comments are, I understand them, but we probably have a pretty low traffic impact based on the density. We don't have any intention of pushing boundaries or looking for waivers or variances on density or height or anything. Just straight zone RM stuff that fits the area, looks good, blends right in, and will sell. There is a demand for condominiums. It is on the increase right now, and at least, although it seems like a big bunch of acreage, it's not really that many units at the end of the day. With that said, I think that's all I had to really say. I can answer questions or respond to your reports.
Yeah, that's a pretty good lead-in, but we will hear those reports now, and then if you can rebuttal if they have anything that you want to respond to.
Sure, thank you. So as the applicant stated, the application here is to rezone 2 properties within the Waterstone community from C1, local commercial, to RM, multiple family residential. The 2 parcels, parcel A, at least what we're calling parcel A, is located on the north side of Market Street and is 4.5 acres. And parcel B on the south side of Market Street, which is just east of Independence Village, is 2.73 acres in size. So just to state off the top, in reviewing a rezoning, the Planning Commission should consider the existing adjacent land uses as well as adjacent zoning, the master plan and future land use plan, as well as the intent and development potential of the proposed zoning district. So in terms of zoning and land use, adjacent zoning includes single-family residential to the west and south, multiple family to the southwest in Independence Village, and to the northeast in the Stony Lake condominiums, and there's recreational land to the north and to the east. We do find multifamily residential to be compatible with all of these uses. In terms of the master plan, these sites are planned in the current adopted plan as village commercial. However, as the applicant stated, the site has sat vacant for many years, whether that's the lack of demand for it or if it's just because of the lack of traffic along Market Street. However, future land use designations around the site are echoing pretty much the existing land uses in that they're single-family, multifamily, as well as recreational. So while the proposed rezoning is not totally consistent with the future land use designation for this site, it is consistent with adjacent designations. And we do advise that this site be looked at as part of the ongoing master plan and future land use discussions, especially if this rezoning is approved. I just want to say that the applicant has not submitted a site plan with this, therefore we have to look at all of the land uses that could be developed under the RM district. Correct. So I'm just going to list a couple of them by right. You can have single and multiple family dwellings, municipal buildings and parks, and as a special land use, daycare centers, churches, schools, and nursing homes. And we do find all of these to be compatible with adjacent land uses. So in summary, we do find the proposed RM rezoning to be compatible with adjacent, existing, and planned uses. And we also want to note that the land uses that are allowed within the RM district are less intense than those that would be allowed under the current C1 zone.
Thank you. Mr. Sharp?
You guys are in receipt of our letter from May 20, or from June 2nd, actually, and we find that there's existing sanitary sewer on the north side of the road. There is capacity within that sewer that would be able to service this, service a proposed zoning. There's existing water lines that are on the south, and there's actually a fire hydrant that's on the north side, but there is water main that surrounds the property, so we would require them to loop that through their site or something most likely, but there is capacity within the water system. And as far as the roadways go, it's obviously adjacent to Market Street there, so that's where the majority of your traffic is going to go to get out to the stoplight out at 24th. So in short, we have no objections to the requested rezoning application.
Okay. We've already had a public hearing on the rezoning. How about commissioner comments on the rezoning?
Well, I only have a couple, Mr. Chair. I did take and listen to the public comment earlier, and I feel some of it, but with traffic and the direct access and stuff. But we do have Market Street as a public road right away. And I have to admit, truthfully, I come through there quite a bit because I live near the area. I do shop at Myers, but I don't hit the Stony Lake so much as Mary Ann talked about earlier. But I think when I look at the compatibility of what's there with the Independent Village, I drove out there and looked at it again today, and the compatibility of the multiple residential that the two other properties have adjacent to it, it seems compatible to me under the RM. I look, typically there's about 7 trips per day for a single family residential component versus the traffic that could come in and out of there under commercial criteria. So I agree that it could possibly be less, and I did read a letter dated from Mr. Sharp the REUs for the parcels are there. We have the sewer capacity. We have everything else needed. So I thought the property was in a different location when I went to look and analyze it, and I wasn't for the proposal, but after looking at it and looking where it is, and it's contiguous with everything kind of within the area, I think it's still a good buffer to put residential multiple there.
Okay. Crosby?
Okay, I was here when this came through. Probably the only one that was here when this came through. It came through as CAD. I came through at kind of the tail end of this process. What was sold to us here is that this was going to be a very low use barber shop, an ice cream shop, and things that would provide services to that local community, that large subdivision that came in. Drop off for dry cleaning and that. And, you know, there's certainly a need for that. Our master plan has a huge amount of multifamily plan within it. North of the Myers, you know, on the south side of town, there's large tracts of land where multifamily, family is already on the master plan to go in. So I'm evaluating why we would want to keep adding when we already have these areas that are master plan to go in. And also, we have all these new multifamily units going up that we're really not sure how we're going to impact it. When this went in, and the first time I had said that some of these plans were premature in terms of the commercial and all that, but it was a long-term plan. That's what was told to us. We have a lot more people coming into this town, a lot more people coming into the east side of 24 that are going to need these type of services. Traffic's getting heavier and heavier. It's harder to go south, so having the convenience of having that area could become a good thing. I'm not convinced in any way that there's a need for this at this time. We have other properties that are zoned multifamily in the village that are undeveloped quite a bit. And so I'm just not seeing the need. I see that the developer wants it, but this was promised to us to be commercial, to have these services for the area, and I think it will come. I think to change it would not be in the benefit of the township. I also, read the survey results of what came in our master plan process, and I read our master plan. Multifamily isn't what is in there. The majority of the people in the survey said they don't want that. They want single-family housing coming in. And so we're going against what the people are saying, and we're going against the intent of the plan to stay rural. So unless we change our master plan and our goals to continue to change to multifamily when it's not even master plan for that area, and when we were promised something else in a central plan where this came in as a whole package, I think it's changing the rules of the game. That subdivision did get allowed to have their golf course as their open space. Their density that came in was denser than what that township was used to. It changed the look of that area. And so they received a lot of benefits from that yet. I think I'd like to wait and let time bring in the proper commercial for that area.
Oh, it's unusual, but I can make a comment. For me, being on the Economic Development Subcommittee, we discuss bringing in businesses to the township, and we've gone after businesses to come to the township. We hear that there's needs for hotels and more food places and stuff like this and more services. However, we have some trouble attracting people to parcels on N24. I would find it very odd that we would keep this as C1 and try to get someone to develop C1 inside there, because it's just really unfindable, I understand how it could have come in as a whole community type of thing, and that was going to service the community, but to be honest, I don't see that that's really going to occur. So keeping C1 in there for me, it seems far-fetched. I mean, I'd hate to leave it that way and then have Motel 8 say, you know what, parcel A would be perfect for us. You know, it's C1, there wouldn't be much we could do to stop it, right? That's my opinion. If it remains that way, I mean, when we're trying to bring a hotel in, they can go, they can put a little single one in there like that, it would fit perfect. I don't know if the residents of Waterstone or Oxford would care for it,
But it's needed more than multifamily.
I don't know what the demand is for the multifamily. I mean, it's not my gamble on that, but I think that use of that property is probably more conducive. Let's see what. Anyone else?
I want to ask an awkward question. I don't know, maybe it's not awkward. I don't know much about sales in the community. But a friend of mine, he plays in the golf league with me on Tuesday nights, and we play Boulder Point. And he loves the look of what's at Stony Lake Drive. He thinks those are really great looking units, multiple. Are they for sale or sell often or?
They're on the market on the average 1 to 2 days. We have a waiting list of people that would like to move
They
into our
go. He's been trying to figure out how to live in there for a long time. And he said
Well, give me his name and number.
I will. But he said it's like they go very quickly or something. They're not hardly ever available. I feel that the compatibility of something of that nature on this property is I have the golf course is to the north of the parcel A piece, which is on the north side of Market Street. It's actually to the golf course also sits to the east of that parcel, and then the south side of the property, where it's the 2.73, excuse me. You have Independence over there to the west of it, and then you also have the park, which is actually the Waterstone Park, and it's a great looking little park there. I see it all the time because I'm closing through there. But I feel like the property's compatible with the area for development and that nature. I have several people that I know personally that bought down at the hills of Oxford. Once it got converted and the plan got amended to do the little single-family homes in there under the multiple residential, and they sell them like pancakes. There's a lot of people that are moving out that want to live in this area, be closer to their children. And they're the boomers like me and us, so maybe not everybody up here, excuse me. So I feel like it's a nice compatible piece to do this with the surrounding area there. And I thought hard about it because I wasn't for it at first. I mean, I had to really go back and look at it all. So I think it's a good mix myself. What's proposed to rezone. I don't want to see commercial activity in there with the kinds of things that can come in there later hours at night and do everything else on Market Street. To me, I don't want that right now.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, I'm hearing what you're saying. I mean, I do get the component of that. I also get what was promised to us in terms of the small boutique that was supposed to be going here.
But
We're not looking for large.
you can't guarantee that with what it's owned right now.
This is what the developer said when he did that.
Can't guarantee it.
He knew that. He picked that zoning. That was picked as part of that and approved as part of that. So he picked it. I'm not saying you. That development was done as a package. Ice cream shop, that's what was said. Little ice cream
Wants
shop.
to build a boutique or ice cream shop.
There's a kid's splash park right there. Wouldn't that be a great spot for an ice cream, place seasonal type thing? So that was there. It's great that you're thinking, bringing the people into the community, but I'm listening to the people that live here. So they have a master plan that was approved, and they have a survey that was put out that said they don't want more of this. So when balancing all of that, I'm listening to them going, okay, it's great that other people want to come in to this level of housing, but the people here said we want to be a rural community with larger lots and less single family. So unless we change our master plan and our goals, I feel we're going against it. Now, as a balance to that, we have a lot of multifamily scheduled in that northeast section, which I don't believe is an appropriate place for it.
Northeast?
Yeah.
No, I think that should be looked at and changed. I agree with that comment.
That's what I'm saying. If this is a balanced
There's
plan.
parcels up there I don't like to have that
Right.
zoning on.
And so if we're going to add this and we're going to discuss that, we're giving up a component of something and not balancing it with the commercial and the transitional zones that we're looking for. And I agree that we should be putting all our density closer to the village and into where our subdivisions are. So in that way, then that would be an appropriate place. When balanced against removing some of these other areas from the master plan and putting a good buffer in. So my concept is thinking a lot farther out. And, you keep giving away little bits and not fixing the whole picture. We get stuck with that 10 years down the line. And we're catching that now from what happened 10 years ago. I don't want to see it happen. So I'm not necessarily against what you're saying. I am against it if we're not balancing against the other changes that need to be made.
I have to agree with part of her comments because the northeast sector has more than I want to hear.
Right, and that's probably
That's something we're looking at. That's something we're looking at in the future one time in our next proposed stuff.
So
But
my objection
honestly,
to this would be...
I look at the M24 corridor and where Chili's went in and then it became the steakhouse and everything else. There's so much over there, and we're just now finally getting Pet Value to go in there and do their thing with next to Bullricks and stuff. We haven't been able to develop any of that commercial property over there for, I've lived here 15 years, and we can't develop that property yet. We can't develop the Cossack piece. We can't develop the Arma, forgot the guy's name, starts with an A. Anyway.
Correct.
Aragona. We couldn't develop the Aragona piece. We haven't been able to, and I've been on this board now since 04 or something like that. I'm thinking, I looked around and I said, man, that corridor over there, I don't feel this corridor is the right place to try and keep this commercial right now. I just don't see it happening. I think if we put a nice little residential mix in there, I'd be happy with that. I think it'd be good for some of the surrounding people that don't want the commercial mix to bring in different kinds of traffic late hours and stuff. So I'd rather keep it out on the 24 side. That's me talking.
Yeah, I agree. My objection is that we don't have the balance yet. If I had that balance in front of me, I'd be all for this, but I don't see it.
That's what we got to work on.
And so that's where I'm coming from. And part of this planning process is you say no to force a change. You say no to say, no, we can't do it yet because we already have this plan. Let's go through and undo it, and then we can fix it.
If these were larger tracks, I might agree with you, but I'm looking at 2.73 and a 4 point something half and 4.5 and the shape of that property and how it configures, I'm good with the current proposal in front of us for rezone. Oh, I can put it in a motion if we're ready. I didn't know if there was other board members that wanted to comment.
Any other comments?
I'll put it in a motion, then we can discuss it, I guess.
My daughter is building Waterstone, and it's a very nice community down Market Street. And when I look at those two parcels, if I lived there, the one thing I would be saying to myself, I love the green space. Nobody's ever going to put commercial property on here, so that's going to stay vacant for a long time. So,
well, that's another opinion.
Well, but I'm guessing in the back of my mind, a lot of that's self-serving because they like to see the green space, and I don't blame them. I like to see the green space too. But like you said, somebody could come in and put a hotel up there, and if I was living in Waterstone, I would the last thing I wanted was a hotel in there.
Correct.
Well, Mr. Chair, I'll put a motion together, and then I guess we can discuss. I'll move that the Planning Commission recommend to the Township Board approval of the proposed rezoning from C1 local commercial to RM multiple family residential on parcel number 04-21-200-002. That would be the 4.5 acre parcel, and also parcel 04-21-200-005 being the 2.73 acres. And the applicant, known as Contour Development Group, LLC, AKA the Oasis at Waterstone. This recommendation of approval is based on the finding that the proposed rezoning meets the requirements of Section 18.2 and 18.3 of the zoning ordinance, and is consistent with the compatibility of the master plan, adjacent zone districts, and adjacent land uses. That's my motion.
I'll support. We have discussion as the motion, on the motion. Seeing none, I'd like a roll call on this one too. Mr. Wood?
Wood.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Spiz.
Yes.
Mr. Berger.
Yes.
Mr. Knoll.
Yes.
Mr. Hunwick. Yes. Ms. Rosner.
Reason stated.
Mr. Young.
Yes.
5-1, I'm sorry.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
So this will go in front of the township board now with a recommendation to move that.
Okay.
Couple weeks. What's the next meeting date?
We're in June, right?
Yeah.
At the end.
Second Wednesday of July.
At the end of July.
Second Wednesday, of July. Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on, item number 10C. Amended final site plan, land bank parking development, parcel number 04-22-101-003, 925 North Lapeer Road, doing business as the Legacy Center in a C2 General Commercial Zoning District, African Christian Mills, 154 Grove Street, Lake Orion, Michigan, 48362. Good evening. Thank you for waiting.
Evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Want to give us a quick synopsis?
We're just proposing to, we had land banked, on our previous site plan, so we're proposing to pave, the last part of the building on the north side. It'll give us an extra 96 spaces.
That's the long and short of it.
That's it.
Okay. Let's go over the planner and engineering reports. Matt?
So our biggest concern with this proposed parking addition was just checking it with the parking study that we did previously. I don't know if you recall, but we did for the site plan last winter, I believe, it was a parking study to compare the uses within the building and their peak demand with the total number of spaces on the site. So we went back and revised that parking study because there are a couple new uses in the building. We also compared it with the additional parking that's being proposed. So I do have to ask, how many spaces are there, 90 or 96?
I've got 96.
Okay. I did a count, and Tion did submit a revised site plan that did actually address a lot of our comments. But it looks like there are 90 spaces, at least when I counted.
Oh, he may have to revise. Okay. I have my summary here, 96, but we can go.
Yeah, I wasn't going to bring it up, but I have a couple different numbers kind of thrown out here. I just want to make sure we have the right amount. Either way, the total number of parking spaces is going to be 516. So we looked at the total number of spaces, 516, with the peak demand. And we found that the most, at least according to our study, the most parking that would be needed at one time would be 490 spaces based on the uses and the hours of operation. So with 516 spaces, it does exceed that maximum demand. However, on its own, if we take each of those uses on their own and add them all up, a total of 685 spaces would be required. So the applicant is requesting a numerical parking waiver to be reduced from 685 to 516 spaces. A couple other waivers are being requested in terms of landscaping. There's a front greenbelt requirement along Lapeer Road. However, given the current building location as well as the current right-of-way, there is no room for a front greenbelt. So the applicant is requesting that, as well as a waiver of the northern greenbelts. There is a requirement, there's a 20-foot greenbelt in all side and rear yards. However, the existing maneuvering lane up there abuts directly on the northern property line, or at least maybe 2 feet off of it, so there's no room for a northern greenbelt. So a total of 3 waivers. There's parking, Lapeer Road greenbelts, as well as northern greenbelts. One comment we do have is if it's possible to extend the screening along that northern property line. I know that there are some shrubs that kind of stop right up in the northeastern corner. If it's possible to extend those shrubs all the way down to the right-of-way, just so there's no view from the Stony Lake development up to the north. is that the zoning board of appeals does need to approve a variance for the location of the existing building. This goes back a little bit, there's some history to this. The building was already there, but it was rezoned to C2. Because it was rezoned, it technically became a non-conforming structure for the C2 district. So it's a formality, but a variance is required from the zoning board of appeals for that building location, to that existing building location. Did it for signs.
No, we did it for building too, I thought. I thought when they did the rezoning, we did that.
I was informed that we mentioned it, but it was never actually taken to the ZBA. I don't know if anyone can clarify that, if you're on the ZBA.
My understanding was it was an administrative approval that had happened because when it was first brought to me of the change, we didn't go to the ZBA, but we had an administrative approval for that building because...
Mr. Rock?
I believe so, but we need to validate that.
Then if it hasn't been done, yeah, it does have to come.
Yeah, and that's something I don't think it can be done administratively because it's a setback variance, which has to be done by the ZBA. But I'll contact Brian to see what the history was. Because I wasn't here when this first came in. But if he has any comments, I'll forward them to you.
Okay.
But other than the ZBA, our main concern was just the screening of that northeastern portion.
We've done the landscape plan to incorporate the new screening that you requested.
Mr. Sharp?
In general, we find that it's in conformity with the township's engineering standards. There are some things that would be handled administratively, engineering-wise, just some minor grading revisions that we saw in the parking lot there. There's no sanitary sewer or water improvements proposed. The storm sewer, talking about the detention for the parking lot, that was not, the calculations need to be shown. I know that the applicant has submitted a new plan via email to us just a couple days ago, but that would not be in your packet, so that would still be something that needs to be forthcoming through the engineering review process. And then, we just wanted to bring it to your attention that there are still several items from previous site plans that have been outstanding, and we just want to make sure that those are going to be completed. There's some issues with parking lots, curved islands on the south side, and I've talked to the applicant, and he intends to do that, and he's hoping to get pricing for this parking lot along with parking for the improvements that need to be made on the south side, to get a better unit price on everything and pay for that. So there are some things that are still outstanding that need to be completed. But in general, we are recommending approval of the parking lot or the northern parking lot.
Okay. Chief?
You got my report up there too? It should be on there now.
Yeah.
It's up there.
Yeah. Here. Here, I just... It's right here. I'm looking for it. That's the engineer. This is...
Where is that?
Here it goes.
Here we go. Sorry, fine.
Some of it, again, goes back to the original site plans from before, like Mr. Sharp had mentioned, there's still some hanging items out there. Signage on the entire property, and again, the fire lane, especially along 24, and then going across that north end where all the traffic, that's the main drive to get around the back of the building, specifically has to be no parking fire lane signs. What's out there right now is no parking will be towed or something by Buckhorn Towing or something. If there's a car there, I call Oakland County Sheriff and he can't ticket it because it's not a legitimate fire lane sign, so it's got to be an actual fire lane sign. That way it's enforceable from the sheriff to be able to come in there and for our guys to be able to enforce that. And then I would request that going around to the north end of the building there. And again, signage on the outside of the building. They had the signs, directional sign that went in, Mr. Berger, you and I have discussed this before, with the silver signs, and there was a white lettering that went on there. Now it's a year and a half old. You get almost within probably 2 feet of it, you can barely read it now. It's all faded so much. When you take a look at directional sign for the entire building, because even to get around that north end of the building, there's nothing that's going to direct you how to get there. So I just want to make sure the entire site is signed out better.
Okay. I have a question.
Oh, for the Jeep, sure.
Asked anything for yourself. That north access drive, I don't know if you went down it. I know you can't do it very safely with the fire truck. Do you know how steep that is? And I'm wondering about the egress and the safety there. It's a very short.
Coming off
The
24.
north driveway. It's short. It's very steep.
Yes, we've been in and out of there many times with fire trucks.
Yeah, I mean on the north one, but
Yep. The one right there by, just up there by Ray Road, the very north entrance right
yeah,
there.
right across from the.
Yes, we've been in and out of there many times.
You know, because it's really steep entrance. I don't know what our requirements are in terms of the layout of that, if we're expanding that parking lot and some semi trucks and stuff trying to come down there, or somebody accidentally pulls in there.
Yeah, the grade is fine. Semi trucks, because I've been there myself before when semi trucks have been coming in, the big box trucks have been coming there and deliver, and they get in and out of there, no problem.
They're coming through that north side. And I know when you're trying to get out, you get that steep grade. That's kind of where I'm more.
Yeah, so that's fine.
Issues with that?
Yep, okay.
Okay. Commissioners, I'm ready for your comments.
Well, I have a couple questions first. What's the total size of that building?
It's about 208,000 square feet.
200,000.
208.
200, round.
Okay.
I like round.
Okay. No, I said 200, you'd say 208.
Well, you just said 290, I rounded to 300. So, you know, he's asking for 89 spaces on variance of what parking would be there. So I guess, you know, looking at that standpoint, that's really kind of minor compared to the whole size of the building. I guess with 516 availability. Is that like kind of getting this thing at total amount 500? Because I looked at your analysis and all the color. That was well done. Though. That helped me out.
That's a good job.
That when it looked at the peak times versus the non-peak times and where parking would be in this thing, because I go in and out at different times of the day. And I drove in there even last night, just kind of get a look, and I drove all the way around back to where the guys that work out.
Splash
What's the gym?
CrossFit.
Building your temple. Something, brother.
Build your temple.
Build your temple. I'm just thinking temple, I don't know what I meant. It looks way too hard for me. I got another question. Is the parking lot going to have curved all the way around?
Yes.
Is that the requirement now, isn't it, through the standard? So that's going to be curved all the way, right?
We'll be curved that whole back
Because I
side.
saw a lot of erosion going on back there last night, too.
Yeah.
Going down that hill, and I'm talking about some pretty good gullies right now.
Yeah.
So stormwater will be handled through this process of putting this parking lot in place, which is, I think, a good thing. So from that standpoint, I mean, as far as the requested number of parking spaces, I'm kind of willing to grant that for a variance, but I guess he's already talked about trying to do something with landscaping earlier. I heard that comment, you're trying to work that out and put better buffering up there along that northern corridor.
Correct.
Right there. Because I still think that's kind of I drove in there slow and then I drove back over and I was on Stony Lake Drive and all that, even though it drops way down fast and everything. I just like buffering. I'd like some buffering there.
We agreed to that.
Yeah. And then, so really, I'm kind of for it all because I think it's really rough back here right now.
It's an improvement for everybody.
It's going to really help clean that whole thing up, I think, even for the chief. So, you know, he's got concerns, I got concerns, so I think it would really help make an improvement on that northwest side of the building, you know? So I'm favorable to it.
Overall, I don't really have a problem with it. I just had some concerns about that egress, the sharpness of the steep of the grade there. I just want to make sure that's been looked at if we're going to get that much more traffic in that north entrance. Also kind of a safety issue. You turn from that north entrance and people are right there walking that are parking along the east side of the building. So it's adding a lot more traffic to that component. So I'm just a little concerned about the overall look of that. So paying a little attention there. landscaping and the buffering, I'd really like to see on that north side, especially the view kind of on that northwest corner. That's a pretty open view when you're coming from Market Street heading east. When you look at the side of that building, it's really visible. Not the best look. And I know when you came in for the variance, we were really strong about not putting the signs and stuff back there to protect kind of the look of what the subdivisions in that part of the golf course receive. And so for me, putting that, any available screening we could would be focused in that northwest corner. So anything we'd be taking out of the other areas, I'd like concentrated there for that, if possible. Because I think that would look better for everybody. Look at the visibility for 24, that you get buffering, from the housing developments and the shielding of the light coming in and all of that, in the parking lot.
We've agreed to additional screening there, from the north side that you're speaking about.
Yeah, basically I'd be standing on that road kind of looking up and going, okay, that's where I put the screening, right at that area.
I understand.
It's a lot easier when you're seeing, because it's way up on the hill, from where the duplexes are. Yeah, I'm asking for more than what's on the plan.
Well, I think it's fully screened on the plan.
Unless I'm just not getting a good concept of what that screening is there, I'm just not seeing enough there.
Do we have a copy of the landscape plan? Full copy. We don't have a copy of that.
I don't have the detail on it.
That's pretty. It is?
Should be on the second page, although this is being revised, I think as we speak, but.
Here, Tian.
Tian, here, Jack, Jack Engineering, 4031 Coolidge Highway, Troy. Just so I'm clear, the area you're talking about is on the north side of
the northwest corner, bottom corner.
Over by the lake?
Pardon?
By the lake?
Yeah, if you're coming down from the condos or the duplexes and you look up at that building, you see that back corner very vividly and you see the hill.
Yeah.
That's the area I'd like to screen in.
Well, that screening was addressed in the prior approval. We put additional screening in the first parking lot.
I think that's more of your south.
No, we put additional screening on that side as well. So we didn't include that in this because that was already addressed. But you have a revised.
It could be that I'm just not seeing everything that's been put in and what was approved. I only know what's there now.
Right.
Because I just drove there.
That's right. We have not added the screening yet.
And that's what I'm saying, if I could get a better visual on what was there, maybe it's adequate. I just haven't seen it in the plans or what's there.
But the existing landscape plan that was approved, prior to this, there was a request for additional screening on that side of the lake, to fill in any of the gaps where that fence used to be.
Right.
So that's what you're talking about, correct?
Yeah, what was supposed to have been put in, right?
That's correct.
But you have occupancy, right?
What's the date of your install?
So my point is, if you have occupancy, it should be in, and so I'm not seeing it, so that's why I'm questioning.
My understanding is we have 1 year to complete all the changes from the tire approval, correct?
Generally, I thought that was supposed to be done.
Well, the final approval for the previous one was done last winter, I think, or maybe early this year.
It was October or
so there's
November.
typically a 1 year timeline.
But we plan on doing all the parking lot stuff, and we have some work to do down in that, in the front lawn, and so we'll do our landscaping all at once when we.
You won't be requiring any additional signage for that area?
We're not sure yet.
Because we had that discussion.
Yeah, we're not sure yet. When we're talking about signage, you're asking us to project what we're putting in the building, and my answer has always been, I'm not sure yet. We're still developing the building. So we're getting closer to what we want, and then, we got to work backwards and what we need for those businesses.
Am I wrong in the memory that it said that if you wanted signage there, you're going to have to give us the whole picture back then so that we knew how to balance the signage that you already had?
Yeah, I'm not.
Does that go back to the sign ordinance violation?
I'm not sure what's the violation, I just know that my memory of the discussion is that if you're going to want signs in that area, you need to present it with variance requests because it needs to be a whole package. Don't keep asking for additional signage. This was your budget. This is what you're using up. So I'm just warning you that I think we had that discussion and that may come back. If that's a component, just keep that in mind. I'm concerned sometimes I'm seeing a lot of the neon signs and the stuff added in the front. It's starting to look really tacky. If you could go back to what was...
I think we were audited on our signage recently, but
I'm not sure, but if you could go back and look at what we approved.
Sure.
Look at it, that would be sense. I mean, overall, I think everything is really good. If you say that landscape is going in, then that's fine. I just don't see it, so I'm just questioning it now.
Okay. Yeah, for me, for amending the site plan, I want the parking lot for sure, you know, but I also need to make sure that everything that was on the original is going to be in there. I also need to make sure that every concern the chief's got, that's done. So, you know, if anyone's going to entertain putting this forward, I want those as conditions, that everything is addressed in all plans letters prior to getting, get to go all the way.
Yeah, and if it has to go in front of CBD, so I think these issues will be brought up again.
That is well.
Right, and I don't speak at that level, so everything has to be on the record here. That's what it's for.
I'm sorry.
Mr. Smith? I have similar comments to most of the members. I haven't had an issue with the parking because I think you're going to need it. It's just some of the previous conditions are still yet to be met, but you had that year time frame. My only question is, how do you make, you can't really make it contingent on that because he's got a year to get those done. You can put something in the motion, but it's not.
We're not in violation of.
We're not in violation of anything yet. He's got a year to get it done.
You know, in some of the chief's requests, like, I think we put signs out to accommodate that, but obviously they're the wrong signs, so, you know, those will be addressed immediately. And as far as wayfinding the building, we actually just put up all new wayfinding. You'll see like site plans, and you are here, and we separated into 5 different colors, and, you know, they're literally laying in the hallway waiting to be put up. And then we have some software that will go with that as well.
Okay, can I ask a point of understanding for me personally? So, if we vote to put this amendment or amended final site plan through, do the clock set back to today's date now, and then we go 1 year from now? No.
Well,
unless it was in motion.
Hang on. That doesn't sound good to me.
Right, that's I'm just double checking here.
And I have to ask another, okay, that's a good question, so I was going to bring up something else, but, because I know right now, that's why I kind of bumped the gym down there with a little whisper, but that safety path is not in place, and that's on your plan.
That's correct.
When's that going to happen?
Well, we'll do it before the year time frame is complete.
Which year?
Well, we have until October.
You have until this fall.
That's right.
Yeah. So that will all be in this fall?
Yeah.
Everything along that corridor on the east side of the building?
Yeah, we have every intention of...
Because I think it would be a lot safer for those people walking down that path than to walk down that parking lot right now. Because when I go down through there, I'm pretty conscientious of kids and stuff.
Sure.
And almost every time somebody's walking on that parking lot.
Yeah.
I mean, literally. And once we move all that traffic around the corner, and I come in off that north entrance often because I know how to do that, but I think it is important to get some of those things done to help the safety that's going on as we populate more people in there. So that's a direct concern of mine, and I don't want that to then get extended from what you're talking about from the date.
I just want to be clear.
So,
Matt, answer my question.
Matt, is there anything that we need to do in particular for that?
Well, this was my concern with calling it an amended final site plan. I was considering my review calling it a new site plan.
This one?
This one. On the agenda, it's listed as an amended final site plan. And I was reviewing it as a new final site plan, thus separating it from the previously approved. It's kind of complicated because it is all one site. But I have the notes here from the original approval, which was November 10th, 2016. So I think if you're in your conditions, what you could do is state that all of the conditions placed on that November 16th approval shall be put in place by November 16th, or November 10th, I'm sorry, of 2017.
So you're saying if we make a motion to approve this final site plan for the Legacy Center, then as a condition of that motion, we would have to then put wording in there regarding the previous plan that was approved from November 10th of 2000.
Yeah, and I think that because it's listed, it's posted as an amended final site plan, that...
Well, you know what, I get, you know what, for me then, Mr. Mills, don't take it wrong, but I'd almost like to see that wording someplace on the plan. Or I'd like to see something, I mean, you're asking us to put that in a condition. I don't know. We're conditioning here. I get a little, I don't like the condition too much.
Right.
I mean, I'm for putting this thing into like perspective to say, okay, we could do a couple different motions. We can do a motion for the numerical parking. We can do a motion for the landscaping, and then we could do a motion for the approval of this amended plan. But I just want to make sure I was not at the November 10th meeting. I was still in Florida, and I wasn't here when that thing went through the first time, so I wasn't part of all that conversation. And I'm looking back at it all, I'm going, hey, I want that stuff done out there.
Does any of the site plan include what was on the previous site plan?
Well, we had conversation with the applicant. We wanted to make sure that what was being proposed and what was in front of you today was showing just what the changes are to that northern area, as to not confuse anybody or...
So what's on this plan is not what's on what was approved before?
What's on this plan...
Part of it is.
Part of it is.
Part of it is.
But the labels have been removed where the previous, one plan we received said proposed, as if, like in the southern parking lot, proposed landscaping. Well, that was already approved. So we wanted to make sure that when reviewing it, the planning commission wasn't looking and saying, oh, they're proposing some more landscaping in the southern parking area. No, it's already been approved. So really what we're looking, all the new aspects in the northern parking area have not been looked at yet. That's what you're looking at.
Would you do all this work before November of this year?
Yeah, we need to put, this parking will start immediately.
So if we just approve this with the condition that he gets this site plan done by November of the 10th of this year, would that be good for you?
Yeah.
Site plan you presented here tonight.
Yeah, I'm
What he's asking, I think what he's asking is everything from the November 10th approval of...
No, I'm saying what this site plan and what he's committed to the other one. I'm just saying this site plan.
That the clock didn't move, it's still...
That he has to complete this site plan by November 10th.
I would recommend, because the ordinance gives them 1 year, so you're basically ignoring the ordinance by saying that.
But he's agreeing to do it.
That's fine, but he has the right to have 1 year after. What I was proposing is saying everything that was approved on November of last year the amended final site plan does not reset that clock. I'm just trying to clarify it in the motion, stating that the applicant is still obligated to complete what was approved last year within 1 year.
You're saying if it's amended, the clock stays the same.
That's what I want to make sure we do, because if it's amended final site plan with any other site, typically the clock resets. So we're trying to just put a safety net in there so that what was previously approved will stay on schedule.
Do you know all the things that need to be done?
Yes, sir.
Because new things have been brought up. I looked at the drawings. There's an issue with the dumpster, moving the dumpster and the walls. There's no dumpster there today. You're dumping way back at McDonald's, I presume.
That's correct.
And I just see a lot of work and a lot of issues or things come about when you're going about your new business and bringing more people in. So is all this attainable by November?
Yeah, I mean, we've been working, probably the hardest part is the parking lot and putting the curbing in. And, we were told that we have quotes on
quotes on everything.
We have quotes on the walkway.
We have quotes on the dumpster site.
So, but it's the same company, so they were going to come in and, address everything at the same time. All they have
I'm
there.
not getting hung up on individual things. I'm hung up on the whole project.
That's what I'm saying.
How do we get a nice bow around this? And who manages the checks and balances?
Yeah, I manage the checks and balances, and, what I've committed to on the first approval will complete. As it relates to this approval, actually I want to complete it all because I don't want to come back and revisit parking and the site plan. I want to finish it and move on.
Okay, any other pardon me, Commissioner comments?
Just for clarification, just because I think I heard it, I want to make sure I heard it, that when our engineer looked at the parking lot addition there, the additional parking areas, the traffic flow into that spot and the access from that was looked at as well.
The access meets the requirements of the township ordinance, yes. For you talking for the steep grade coming in?
North grade entrance.
We did not look at that. That's an existing condition.
Okay, because it's an existing one, now adding to it. So my question, I'd like that looked at. And because of what Mr. Ritter said, there's people that they got out of their car, I have kids, they get out of their car and they run around the back of the car to get in because you can't sometimes get in front because they park close to the building. And they run right into the traffic light because there's a designated lane. And people are coming off 24, you're trying to get the light, you get through, you're slamming on the brakes, you're coming down that steep pole, and it's icy, or you get snow. And we've got people parked right there. And so it's adding the traffic for me is a safety concern. I just want to make sure we just check that out because things can be done to make sure it's safe for him. He doesn't want lawsuits. We don't want to miss that.
Yeah, the other thing we may look at, if directed by the township here, would be the slopes of that coming in. The chief acknowledged that he's seen, large vehicles and so forth use that ramp and safely, but if that's a requirement or a request by this.
I had a trailer the other day that I couldn't get up there.
Well, it's also NDOT property.
But we're also expanding the use into it, and so for my due diligence, I just consider the option, which always could to protect the community and you. And if there's nothing we can do about it, at least we've looked at it, and it's on the record. But I had a bumpable trailer, I could not get up there. It pinned it out, I had to back up, turn around, and come out the other way.
Any other comments, discussion? Seeing none, I think for a motion.
Well, can we do this on a couple, 2, 3 motions here? Can we
I'll
do
listen
that?
to any motion.
Oh, I'll start with one. I'll move that the planning commission grant the requested numerical parking count waiver per section 8.6 of the zoning ordinance based on the finding that the proposed number of parking spaces, 516, meets the maximum peak demand as determined by the township's plan or parking analysis dated June 15th of 2017.
Support. Okay, it's been moved by Mr. Berger, seconded by Mr. Spitz. Good discussion on the motion.
I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing, I'm just not convinced safety-wise. I have enough information to say they're going to get. So I voted no on it for that reason, not because I'm against it, just because I think
Okay. Anyone else? Seeing none, those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Motion passes.
Okay, I'll make another motion if you want me to entertain.
Certainly.
I would move that the planning commission grant the requested green belt waivers under sections 7.4.b and 7.4.d based on the finding of the fact that the required front and side green belt widths cannot be accommodated due to the existing conditions of the site. I kind of want to throw something in there that I was going to wait and throw in under the approval of the site plan as a condition. So I'm kind of mixed up where to put it right now. As long as the applicant agrees to extend the greening along the northeast edge of the property to screen northern maneuvering lane from the adjacent residential properties. So I'd like to add that into that motion. Because he agreed to put the additional screening there, from what I heard earlier.
Okay, so can you reread your
I'll
motion?
second the discussion.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I can reread it if you want.
Second discussion. You say additional, what does additional?
Yeah.
Well, am I wrong? I heard that there was going to be additional screening provided, and he has a plan. I couldn't find a landscape plan showing me that. I'm sorry, my
Well, in the landscape plan that we reviewed, the shrubs in the northern side of the parking lot kind of stops halfway along.
You want to extend?
And our comment was to just extend it all the way up to the right of way, the Lapeer Road right of way, where they can legally put it. That way it's screened all the way down. So I don't know how many shrubs that would be. I don't have an exact count, but it would be fully screened the entire northern length adjacent to the maneuver lane.
So maybe what I should have said was then extend the screening along the northeast edge property to screen the northern maneuvering lane from the adjacent residential properties all the way to MDOT's road right away. Right?
It's acceptable.
So support. It's been moved by Mr. Berger, supported by Mr. Spitz. Is there any discussion on the motion as read? Seeing none, those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes.
Now here's where I'm in a little trouble. I mean, not trouble. I mean, mentally, I'm just one guy here thinking I don't know everybody else's opinion all the time. I'm almost, I'm inclined to grant a variance maybe with the idea that we put conditions in place if he's going to start right away, because I think the need is there to start right away. And I'll have to add a note then about the November 10th, 2016 items that I wasn't even at the meeting for, but I know about. So let me see if I can hit this and see if we can make this work, and then if somebody will open it up for discussion after a motion's made.
Okay.
I move that the planning commission approve the amended, I don't want to say final site plan, do I? I mean, let's say amended site plan.
Oh, well, it is final. It's not preliminary, it's final. So.
Okay, I just want to make for clarification. Okay, I move the planning commission approve the amended final site plan for Legacy Center parcel number 04-22-101-003, commonly known as 925 North Lapeer Road, in the zone district of C2 General Commercial. Mr. Mills is the applicant, and this approval is based on the finding that the amended site plan meets the standards of the township ordinance, and further, this approval is conditioned upon the following: that the applicant shall be required to obtain a dimensional variance for the building's deficient front yard setback, that all open, I guess I don't know if there are any open zoning ordinance violations, so I'm going to stop there for a second. I'm going to change the wording. I'm going to say any unresolved items contained in the township engineer's review letter dated June 15th of 2017 must be tidied up. And then I want to say every item approved on November 10th of 2016 must be completed by November 10th of 2017. Therefore, this motion will in no way alter the time frame for the previous site plan approval of November 10th, 2016.
Support.
Tidy up.
Tidied up. I mean, I guess, we need to get everything amended to that point.
Can you change tidied up?
How about brought to conformance?
To bring in compliance any unresolved items contained in the engineer's review letter dated June 15th of 2017.
I'd like to add another correction.
Tidied up is something I grew up with.
Not only the engineer's letter, but the planner's letter and the chief's letter.
Oh, excuse me, I forgot all about you, Chief. That was definitely an accident. I just had his letter in front of me too, and I forgot the dates. Sorry. Let me look for that real quick. I'm getting to it. It's right here.
My letter is
Also adding to this motion as further approval is conditioned upon, where's this date on this letter? Where's Gene Schultz? Where's the date?
I have it as actually undated.
Yeah, I don't have a date on the letter, sorry, but I'll quote the letter then.
It's always current.
As of today, June 27th.
For the unresolved issues of the current letter from Chief Schultz, the Oxford Fire Department, that was submitted with a packet this evening. And there's, how many items were there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 items within the letter must also be added. That's a weird way of saying that.
I can say the letter.
Well, the letter then, from the Oxford Fire Department.
In our packet.
In our packet. Okay. Okay. And we said something about the planners.
Yeah, you have the planner letter, the engineering letter, and the fire chief's letter.
And to also include any additional unresolved items within the planner's letter dated June 15th of 2017. Correct? Oh, June, what did I say?
How about just...
Well, I said June 15th of
You
2017.
probably did. I heard 17 for the year. You're good.
That's a heck of a motion.
Does everyone understand the motion as?
Well, the gist of it, now let's talk about this, the gist of it, now there you go.
I'm trying to attack you up.
Yeah, the gist of it was, the reason, I was gonna postpone it originally, but then when I heard he was gonna get active and start the activity to get this done, I thought, let's get this thing moving, because I drove up there and saw what it looks like last night. And I wanted to go too, so I tried to do it with all these conditions, and I think if we have all the conditions nailed down, then we're okay. And if anybody else has anything that they feel we need to add, then please help me out.
Should we support it?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, Cal.
For discussion, I agree with a big chunk of everything that was said. I still have concerns about adding additional traffic to the configuration of the north entrance. And like, a little bit more attention on that component.
But I feel if we get the stuff that was supposed to have been done from November 10th of 2016, we help alleviate part of that problem of safety pathway. Well, no, I can't change. I can't change the grade. The elevations are there, and I drove down it and went around it. Fine. The chief said he drove down and went around it. He did fine. So, and that would be the gentleman I'd be concerned about for his radius, is that he has to make his emergency vehicles and other equipment go through there. I'm okay with his comments in regards to that for me personally.
I know he said that, but I know we have an engineer that actually looks at that for conformity and say that. But it just really didn't get looked at. It's possible that just moving some parking areas away from that initial curve and putting in some signage, may alleviate that problem. The thing is, it's such a sharp turn, if you have a long vehicle, you're blocking that entrance entirely. Somebody's coming from the south trying to turn in, can't turn in, and now you've got a potential backup at 24. And there isn't a decel line there either. So my concern is that it's something I thought should be looked at. And so, my objection to that would just be actually exclusively based on that concern. And it's a real concern for me.
Well, I mean, I'm not going to disagree totally, but part of what we're talking about is within MDOT road right away. And I don't know.
We also are making a bad situation.
I blew it up to 100%. I'm going to take it one step further to 125 to see if I get a better view. But I don't see we're coming down through there and where the parking starts that it may make that big of a difference at that point, so I guess.
He doesn't have a plan.
No, right, but, so for me, I'm okay with it.
You know, that was a shipping and receiving area for Searay.
But that's gone now.
I know, but they were pulling trucks in there and, pulling trucks in and out of there. Yeah.
Any other discussion on the motion? Seeing none, I think I'll take a roll call on this one too, please. Yes,
Mr. Berger?
Yes.
Mr. Hunwick, yes. Mr. Knoll?
Yes.
Ms. Rosner Meyer?
No, reasons stated.
Mr. Spiz?
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Young?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And Kelly, I'll look at that as well.
We're looking forward to that asphalt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're looking forward to that asphalt.
I understand. Me too.
The guys in the back lift the weights when you turn around there. All dust. All of us driving back, but I don't think they appreciate it.
No, it'll complete what we're trying to do, and now we can focus on the outside and wrap it all up. So thank you very much for all your comments and attention tonight. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Item number 11, communications and committee reports. Violations report. Everybody take a look at that? Everybody read it? Okay. No comment? Item B, subcommittee reports. Acreage lot split committee. I haven't seen anything come before us yet.
No.
Okay. Economic Development Subcommittee. That was canceled. I understand there may be one coming up maybe in July. Gravel Inspection Committee, nothing. Ordinance Review Subcommittee. Yeah, at the moment. Yeah, I'm going to take that though. I did go to the Township Board meeting. I did present the list of items that needed to be covered. I got them to buy off on all of the items. So they're going to pay for us to continue to work on that. I got some estimates from Matt as to how much time the planner may need to assist the committee and how many meetings perhaps it might take. So we have a roundabout figures of how many meetings we should have on each topic. So I think I'd like to put it on the schedule for a lightweight meeting, maybe next time for the Planning Commission. For us as a commission to decide of those 7 items, I think there were 7, which ones we want to do right away, which ones we want to do longer term. And then we'll have a path to completion for that efforts. Okay? All right. Get that then, Deanna?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Reports from representatives to other township boards and committees. Safety Path Committee, Curtis, he is absent. Is there anything we should be aware of Mr. Sharp and his absence?
Yes, there was a safety path project that was bid out recently. All of that work has been completed. The bid amount was slightly over $100,000. We are currently at about $80,000. So we have been directed by the committee to go out and do some additional work so that we can, basically, they've been allocated the money, so they want to use it up. Is what it is. So, but the work included what we typed our most serious areas, a lot of handicap, ADA type ramps were replaced. There was no ADA actually, so we put in the domes and that type of thing. And some of the badly potholed areas, big cracks in the asphalt, so of course those have all been completed, and we're under budget right now, so we're going to do a little bit more work.
The areas that I've been on have been on this job.
Yeah, that's good. I'll let them know.
Water and Sewer Committee, that's Mr. Curtis. He's absent. CBA? Did not have a meeting. Sure. Yes?
I think our engineer might have an update.
Yeah, we do have information on that.
Oh, I'm sorry. I missed that.
Well, we have the ongoing Lakeville Road water main project. Water main, I think I mentioned it last time, has been installed from Willow Lake down to Lakeville Elementary. That water main has been tested, it's approved, it's live right now, so the chief can use those hydrants. We had to wait to get onto school property until after school was out. And we had to get out there with a private locator. There's fiber optic lines, a whole bunch of other things that MISTIG won't state for us because it's on private property. So we met with them, and they are going to be picking up where they left off probably in the next week or so to continue down through Wildcat Drive and around the back of the middle school to the Lake Billow property.
Are they taking that all the way around Wildcat to the school parking lot, or are they?
Goes down the west side of Lakeville Elementary, kind of through the playground area.
It's state right now.
Not through the playground area, but the rest of it is down Wildcat Drive. So it comes down through the playground area. It enters, you know where the rear entrance to the Lakeville Elementary parking lot is? Kind of goes down there, continues down Wildcat Drive, on the, then it goes down the west side of the middle school, ties into a village water line for an emergency connection, and then, like I say, continues around the south side of the school through the woods. We're going to directional bore a lot of that to save all the trees and connect it down there.
The question was asked to me to relay. Is the school picking up a portion of it? The cost on that, or receiving a benefit in exchange? How is it working with the school?
The school is paying for a portion of the roadway repair. We had an opportunity, originally we were thinking about directionally drilling that. So if we were going down through there, we would replace the roadway for whatever we took out. Normally we need something with our water main, probably 8 to 10 feet wide. So the township is picking up that portion of it, and then the schools saw the value of the additional payment, so they elected to take out the additional lane, because that's a boulevard, it's 2 lanes through there. So they're paying for essentially the additional lane.
So they're using the opportunity to save money and upgrading a road.
Yeah, it was kind of, let's work together there. We will need an easement through there, so that was kind of, in our talk with them is, okay, you give us the easement, we'll pay for 1/3 of the road. They're paying, I think, for 2/3 of the road through the, they're just along Wildcat Drive through there.
Yeah, so the question was, why is the school paying it? It's not going to benefit them, but it's benefiting that the road is getting improved.
Oh, yeah. Had we gone through there, we would have probably just done, you've seen water main trenches, you can tell where they go. They're not real wide, they're maybe 8 feet wide.
Right.
That road width is 24 feet, so it was about, that's why it came up to the 1/3, 2/3.
Right, people see the cost and they say, well, the school already has water, why are they paying more? And I knew there had to be a reason that the school is receiving benefits, so the question is what?
Sure. We even offered to, if they wanted to piggyback on that and work with the asphalt contractor that's doing it, was actually a subcontractor to the water main, that they could reach out to them, and if they want that contractor, so that they would hold the same unit prices. So if the school came up with some additional funds to pave out to Lakeville Road or something, then we could do that work as well. Township wouldn't pay for it, schools would pay for it, but they had that opportunity to reach out to that contractor since they're going to be there, save money on mobilization costs, and it was the bid unit prices. So.
Well, the end of the same community, just on both those entities.
Sure.
ZBA?
You already asked it.
We went back to
It appears we're going to have a meeting.
Yes, you did. And the Village Planning Commission, Mr. Curtis is absent today.
Won't have one for August.
No.
No, ZBA.
July. This one won't be
Right,
front
no
of us.
matter any time, you missed it.
Yeah.
Put that way.
Planner and engineering reports, are we?
I have no comments at this time.
Anything else, Jim?
Just a couple things, I know it was in the paper today, but a reminder that the Pontiac Street paving project is going to be beginning on Monday. That's from Drainer Road north to the village limits. So there's going to be grading, storm sewer work, milling of the roadway, resurfacing.
It's only a mill, and we're not.
It's not a total replacement, no. We're cutting out the bad areas of pavement, and then we're going to mill it and put a couple inches on top of it. But there are going to be some storm sewer improvements. So just, people should be aware of that. That might take a little bit of extra time going through there. And then secondly, something that came up, and I know it comes up, I believe that the attorney's reviews to the planning commission that we discussed for, the most recent one was Savannah Ridge, and this has to deal with floor plans that need to be submitted as part of that. You know, do they really need to submit floor plans, especially for site condominiums? So I had a discussion with the Oakland County Register of Deeds down there. His name is Ron Crank, and he understands, you know, the situation. And basically, the bottom line is, I can read the last sentence here. It says that moreover, that the floor plans are not a requirement for the recording of a master deed exhibit B drawings. So there's interpretation as to what floor plans are if you read the statute, you know, the Condominium Act.
You mean by definition? You mean by definition?
It's just been argued, what type of floor plans are they? Can you just show a box on a unit and call that a floor plan? Some people have argued that, but the bottom line is that if specific floor plans are not shown, then Oakland County, if somebody were to take down Exhibit B documents to them, they will still record them. And I know that comes up all the time in the attorney's letters, and we've talked about it, I think, here and probably at the township board level as well. But I just want to make you aware that that was his statement.
You know, is that for both building condominiums and site condominiums?
These are just site condominiums. Yeah, that's a good point, Matt. These are just for site condominiums where you're kind of something that looks like a subdivision. If you have unit plans where they're duplexes, or, you know, they're just the same product, one after the other down the road, then they would, you know, like to see those site plans. But if it's for a site, a detached single-family site condominium, they do not need to see the individual floor plans for those homes in order to record Exhibit Bs with Oakland County.
Thank you. That'd be okay.
That's all I had.
Now with that, I go to item number 13, which is adjournment at 9:23.